Feday.email, you don't need to compromise faith to participate in the modern world. Instead of pushing ads and invasive practices that conflict with Catholic values, we built Feday to reclaim technology for Christendom. When you use Feday.email, you declare your commitment to technology that defends Christian tradition. Join Feday.email today and use technology to advance Christendom. It's Holy Saturday, the eve of Easter. Tonight, at the Midnight Mass, there will be something remarkable happening. Beyond just the miracle of souls having their sins washed away when they are baptized, with the door to salvation being open to them should they choose to begin walking the long, narrow road of seeking it by entering through those doors when they enter the church. The remarkable thing will be a continuing trend, an uptick in converts to Catholicism, many from Protestant groups. In fact, a lot of them from Protestant groups. It has been remarked upon, and I think I'd rather have a guest on to cover that subject, someone who would be knowledgeable on it, but it's been remarked upon by Protestant apologists that they are seeing large numbers of their own adherents leaving their various schismatic groups and entering the Catholic Church. We're seeing this among young atheistic types who are leaving that error behind and entering the Catholic Church. And we're seeing it from the followers of the crescent moon religion and its false prophet leaving their diabolical path and entering the Catholic Church. It's in increasing numbers. And while the stories loom over us that for every 100 Catholics who enter the church at Easter, 800 will leave that year, the trend appears to be turning around. And that's good news. So today is a call for you to pray for these people as we go to our first story on this. This comes to us from Aleteia under this headline, Wave of Catechumens. The church rediscovers the power of conversion. Conversion and the power of conversion is a good way to phrase it, actually. We're seeing an interesting trend happening. There have been year-over-year increases in the number of catechumens entering the church on Easter in spite of all the chaos in the church. And it's not because of synodality and synodal reforms and everything. When you listen to the people that they will give you examples of, you aren't hearing the new false gospel, you're not hearing synodality, you're not hearing group hugs, you're hearing the gospel. You're hearing that Christ somehow touched their souls, that they encountered the Virgin Mary or something. You found unequivocally Catholic explanations for why they left their various errors behind and chose the hard but joyous road of becoming a Catholic. Given that today is Holy Saturday, that means that mere hours from when most of you will see this video, those Catholics will be welcomed into the church at the Easter Vigil Mass. Please pray for them, as I can tell you from experience as an adult convert myself, that many of them will face weird temptations or sudden barriers to trying to enter. Things will suddenly get in their way. They will be tempted for things that would make their reception of the Eucharist for the first time at the Easter Mass invalid. All sorts of things. So please pray for them. Pray that they make it through any obstacles that they will face today. Now, this Aleteia article provides some interesting points for this coming from France. 30% of the catechumens are between the ages of 20 and 35 years old. Between 10 and 15% of the catechumens are formerly from the crescent moon worshipping false religion. This continues a trend, by the way, from 2024, where there were already 7,100 adults, an increase over 31% over the previous year, and 5,000 adolescents, an increased of over 50% from the previous year. Something is happening in France, but it's not just France. It's a broader thing happening in the church. So let's go back to that article and we will see some details here that I think will help highlight this. So from the article, quote, "But who are these catechumens? A survey conducted jointly by Aleteia and Famille Chrétienne among nearly 900 catechumens shows that 44% of catechumens are under 25 years old and 3/4 are under 35. They primarily discovered the Christian faith through a personal search for 40% of them, through family for 23%, and through their circle of friends for 14%. For 78% of respondents, social media played a role in the discovery and deepening of their faith. Many first did research on social media or the internet before coming, agrees Anne-Laure de la Doncier. 10 or 15 years ago, catechumens had a damaged image of the church and needed to be reconciled with it in a cocooning spirit. Today, this is no longer the case. Those who commit themselves are looking for meaning, are ready for more radicalism. They're also very demanding of content. They want to understand, to know the faith. So, of course, there's the discovery of the Christian faith. But from there to requesting baptism, this trigger for more than 40% was a strong spiritual experience. Each of our catechumens first evokes a real spiritual experience with God, with Christ, Barbara Skronek adds. Then they seek to understand and put into words what they have experienced, often thanks to the internet. At some point, they knock on the door of the church, but most have already been on the journey for 2 to 3 years before asking to be baptized. She emphasizes, we try to help them move from an individual approach, from a very strong experience with the Lord, to an ecclesial approach. They're now part of a family. The strong, overwhelming experience with the Lord is, for example, Lorraine, 30, who will receive baptism in the Diocese of Nimes this year, testifies to. 3 years ago, one morning when she woke up, she, who had never been to church, asked her partner to accompany her. I didn't really know how to do it, and he simply replied, with pleasure. It was the family mass. I remember that in the church pew, I cried a lot. There were so many welcoming people, so much love around us. I felt at home, she confided to Alatea. Jesus knocked patiently and regularly on the door, but I never opened it, said Sebastian, 51. I was walking and entering a small church near my home. That day, I made the decision to open the door, take the step, and be baptized. Before entering the catechumenate, 38% of respondents indicated they already attended Mass regularly. This is the case for Jean, 20 years old. Although he discovers the faith 3 years ago, he waited a few months before entering the catechumenate, particularly to be sure that my faith was not temporary, he explains. However, I continued discussions about the faith with my new entourage while getting into the habit of attending Mass every Sunday. End quote. And it goes on and on like that. This is something that's happening in spite of the chaos in the church. These are people who probably are aware that they're entering a church that not everything is perfect inside, that there are some real problems, and yet they are entering the church anyway. They are an example for everybody who sees the bad news in the church, preys on it, but also deals with the temptation, we'll say, of leaving. They are entering knowing full well that things are not perfect in the church. Maybe they are an example for the rest of us. But this is not only happening in France either. In the UK, many of you have seen this headline, and this is one that is making a lot of online Protestants very, very angry. So the headline here is, Surge in adults entering church in England this Easter, prompted by internet and tradition. We're seeing the same kind of point here. Internet apologetics is working. It's being reported that there will be more Catholics in the UK soon, very near future, than there will be Anglicans. The UK is going to become a Catholic country again, unofficially. Officially, the state church is still the Church of England. But at some point, they're going to have a hard time maintaining that as the state church if there are more Catholics in that country while the Church of England withers away because it adopted a decentralized synodality approach like what they're trying to foist on Rome. That's why so many of us want to stop it. We know exactly what's going to happen. It's not the way the church was established. What would you expect from a schismatic group founded on literally adultery? But I digress. The short version here is this. They know that soon, for the first time since the Reformation, there are going to be more Catholics in England than there are Anglicans. And that concerns a lot of people, especially those who are ideologically opposed to the Catholic Church in that country. Here's the hopeful part of this article, quote, although the candidates have a broad variety of backgrounds, some trends this theologian here has noticed include young men initially inspired by online U.S.-based evangelists and apologists such as Bishop Robert Barron, founder of Word on Fire, Father Mike Schmitz, a popular speaker, podcaster, and campus minister, Edward Sri, a theologian, author, and speaker, and Trent Horn, a Catholic apologist and podcaster. As an aside, those are all Americans, by the way. I'm not familiar with Dr. Edward Sri, but if you are, let me know if he's an American or not. But the rest of these are Americans, and that's noteworthy here too. Nash has also noticed more from atheistic countries. As part of my work, anecdotally, going to a number of parishes, groups I've been in, there have been a large number of younger people, particularly men, he said, increasing numbers of Chinese. In Southwark, we are blessed with a panoply of ethnicities. It is really the church universal that is massively edifying. The diocese published a video of interviews of 4 candidates who expressed a variety of reasons and motivations for becoming Catholic, including the witness of the early church fathers, the experience at a Catholic school, and the powerful faith of a young child. End quote. And it goes on to give you some good examples there. I'm not going to repeat the individuals here, but the links will be posted at my show notes at returntotradition.org if you want to go read those articles and pray for the people they interviewed. But again, this is happening everywhere. I could not find any specific data for the United States because, for whatever reason, the Catholic media in the US isn't printing this stuff. But we have a lot of interesting sort of anecdotal data. The comprehensive data has yet to be compiled, but there are some indications of a broader trend. So if you're looking around, say, on X, where this seems to be the central turning place for all of this, you go back to 2024, articles referenced by Catholic News Agency noted that several U.S. dioceses last year reported 30 to 70% increases in adult converts at Easter 2024 compared to prior years, and all the evidence says that this isn't happening again this year. It suggests a potential upward trend in recent years, but no specific 2025 Easter data is cited in available sources for the United States. But we're seeing from the UK and from France that the trends they had last year are happening at least at the same level as this year, meaning if last year they had a 31% increase, we're having at least a 31% increase again. Something is happening. Worldwide, there are reports of rising conversions. Again, more data here from France. They saw a 45% increase in adult baptisms in 2025, with over 10,000 catechumens driven largely by young adults, which is the noteworthy part here. One of the complaints that people have had, some of the more doomsaying types, is that people entering the church are often older and that your parish is older. That trend is beginning to turn around. We will, again, just put a note. We will note the data of for every 100 Catholics entering, 800 leave. But for now, let's focus on the positive. Pray for those entering the church today. They need your prayers. I will tell you from experience that when those final days before Easter Vigil arrive, when suddenly getting to confession becomes nearly impossible, you suddenly are faced with temptations. Whatever it was you were trying to escape beforehand comes roaring back, or there will be external barriers, people in your life suddenly trying to stop you from entering, or suddenly your boss needs you to go to work on Saturday night. Whatever it is, the devil is wily. He will use every trick in the book to try to keep as many of these souls from entering the church as possible. So please pray today that they receive the grace they need to weather the storm of life that will get in their way to try before they get to Mass tonight. Let me know what you think of this in the comments, please. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It certainly helps. Sharing this on social media helps too. If you've ever thought about supporting the work of Return to Tradition here on YouTube, it is greatly appreciated. There are options in the description box below, all asked for by viewers like yourself. This is Patreon, Subscribe Star, the join button on the screen below, as well as a few other options. Again, all asked for by the viewers of the channel. It does help keep these daily messages coming. As always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.